Alright, welcome back. Today I have a good chunk of time to work in the garage, so let's see how far we can get on this project, replacing this rear quarter panel. So I need to go ahead and start cleaning all this paint and that undercoating that's in this wheel well to prep it first to be able to weld that inner wheel well panel in. So I'm using just a regular air sander, little small disc. It's easy to get in, and but that undercoating will gum up that sander. So I'm just using a scraping tool, and I'm just trying to get off as much of it as I can by hand. And then I'll go back, you can see here, I think you can see it, and started just sanding down to the metal for this side. So once I clean all this stuff off, I'll do that all the way through the wheel well. So just by scraping as much off as I can by hand, it makes it easier on the sander. When I did the underside, for a lot of it, I used a heat gun and heated that up to scrape it off. But honestly, there's not much of it left, so it's just easier just to scrape it off. I'll tell you, this little tool right here I've used this in so many situations, prying apart panels that I've drilled out spot welds to scraping off this undercoating. Man, it's been a great tool. All right, so I finished cleaning out the inside of this wheel well. I've got the outside edge done too. I still need to clean the panel. I've got to cut the one that's going to go in to the right size and clean it off. I cleaned off this, and part of what I'm going to do is go ahead and weld this panel in first and get it in the spot that I need it. This will all get attached so that I can put this final panel in. In the last episode, if you remember, if you watched the last episode, I talked about a pinhole that had blown into a bigger hole, and I was thinking about cutting the whole square out, but I asked for some suggestions, and in the comments a bunch of you said maybe to use some solder to fill it. My buddy Jim's talked to me about that, showed me videos of what he's done. Several of you have recommended that I go watch Fitzy's Fabrication, which I do subscribe to. I just hadn't actually watched it in a while. And one of the suggestions he had for filling holes was to put a piece of brass, which this is all I had actually, on the other side of it, because it'll hold it in place while you build the edges of it and fill the hole, which is what I did, and I feel like it came out pretty good. I've still got to go through and go on the other side and grind it and fill it, because there's like a couple of little pinholes, but for the most part it filled in really nice. So that was just sticking this on the back side and just welding and filling around the edge until you could fill in the whole piece, and then I grinded it flat. So I'll finish it on the inside edge when I get a chance to flip the car back over, but that actually worked really well. So now I'm gonna go ahead and start working on getting this piece welded in. I'll get these plug welds first. And then I'll do the seam. I'll do the plug welds here, pull this over and plug weld it at the top, and then I'll do the seams. Okay, so this patch piece is in, and so now that it's all patched on both ends and cleaned out, and it's cleaned and ready on this end, I need to go in and size up the new panel, mark it, cut it, and clean it off, and then get it clamped in and welded in. So we might get this done today. So I cut this piece to fit, and with the exception of maybe a little spot over here, I actually got pretty lucky on the cut that I made, because it fits just about right, which shocked me. I did measure from here to here, and it's 4 3/4, which is what it was originally, so that's good. I basically got big magnets on the other side to hold it in place. So I think I should be able to fire up the welder and go along and tack it to hold it, and then go ahead and weld the whole seam from both sides and then grind it smooth. So, man, like I said, I marked it and cut it, and I feel like I got pretty lucky on this one. But let's fire up the welder and let's get this thing put in. Okay, so I finished welding it in and cleaned up all the welds. In a second here, I'm gonna go ahead and put some primer on it, because this part's gonna be covered up and it's never gonna get seen, so I want that bare metal at least covered up with some kind of primer. But honestly, it went in way easier than I thought, and I think it turned out, I'm really pleased with how it turned out. I think it turned out great. Okay, that's gonna be it for this episode. I did go ahead and get the inner wheel well all welded in and put a coat of primer on it, and the closing panel in the back. Hopefully in the next episode we'll get to the point where we're putting this rear quarter on, but before I do that, I'm gonna have to do this repair here, which is gonna take some time, because I'm gonna try to make my own patch for that. Also, there's a spot up here I'm gonna have to fix as well before I can put this panel in, and it will take it's not gonna be difficult necessarily, but it's gonna take a lot of hours to get it matched up right, get it cut to the right spot, so that it goes in. But I'm pleased with where the inner panel went, and that's what I'm going to go off of to put the outer panel on. So stay with me on the next episode and see how it goes.